Welcome back, Freedom Protectors, to the Marine Gun Builder channel. Hey, listen, today we have a great resource for you, all right? We have a comprehensive guide, a builder's checklist to building a first-time quality Polymer 80. Now, I say comprehensive because it's very, very detailed, as you know I am, okay? But I wanted to create a resource, especially for new builders, okay? Because there's a lot of information to take in for somebody who's never built an 80% firearm, and there's still, even for those that have never built a Polymer 80 pistol. Okay, so I wanted to create a resource that you all could download and go through, and to help you stay organized, keep you on track, and have a first-time quality product at the end. But I think seasoned builders will find plenty of great information and resources in this guide as well. So I wanted to make a video to go along with it, so you'll be able to download it on the blog, PDF. But I want to make a video to go with it to kind of walk people through it, to make sure that I get all of those questions answered on it ahead of time. And of course, you can comment on the blog and all that other stuff, okay? So, really, the thing is that when you're brand new into this, there is a lot of education that goes into building a Polymer 80. So there's armoring education, there's gunsmithing education, there's Glock education, okay? And then there's education like I give here on this channel around building the 80% itself. In other words, the how-to type stuff, tools that you need, not only build tools, but armoring tools, gunsmithing tools. And so, you know, there's this just big array for a lot of new people, and it can feel a little bit overwhelming to them. And I know this because I'm going to explain this for a section to you, because that's a lot of the feedback that I get. So first, let's understand the Marine Gun Builder, the MGB network, okay? The MGB Educational Network is a collection of communities, okay? It's this big collection of communities with thousands and thousands of builders, all right, who have built thousands and thousands of Polymer 80. And what happens is they communicate consistently to me in all of these different avenues. And as that comes in, I collect that data into what I call the Center of Excellence, okay? Once that information is there, I then know what the community, what their struggles are, what their needs are, and then I push that information back out to the pipeline. Hence this video. That data has told me we have an influx, a lot of new builders coming into the community right now and are dying for some front-loading information. They have lots of brand new questions. And listen, it makes sense because, you know, we just got out of the Christmas season, and Midway is still giving away frames for $75. And so you got a whole bunch of people out there who never even considered a Polymer 80, but they're like, hey, I can buy a frame for $75. So we've got this influx of people coming in, which is, you know, fantastic for our community, okay? But a lot of the questions coming into that Center of Excellence is revolving around really, how do I get set up to even build this thing? I got it because it was cheap, but I maybe never even did any research on it, okay? So I'm going to walk you through some of that. The first is going to be a big decision that you have to make up front, okay, and that is budget. All right, I mean, the reality here is these Polymer 80s can be done in a kit form for as little as $400, and you could blow $2 to $3 grand on it easily without winking an eye, okay? And so the big question up front is going to be budget, and a lot of times that is intertwined with, well, am I going to do a custom build? In other words, am I going to customize it piece by piece by piece, or am I going to buy a build kit? Okay, and a lot of the build kits, you know, you can get around the $400 mark, okay? And so that's a big question up front. So I'm going to break those two areas out because there are two different approaches to building there, okay? So we answer that first question, I'm either going to customize my own or I'm going to use a build kit by one of the good vendors. And I have the vendors that we know put out good kits, okay? If they're on this list, they are proven to have put out good build kits, period. Okay, so if you're like, well, I saw this kit here and this, and this, and they get good, I'm not saying that they're not. I'm saying that they have not proved themselves to thousands of people in the MGB network as a solid build kit that I know of, that I can confirm, okay? So let's talk about customizing your own first, okay? So with a custom build, the first thing you got to get is a frame, all right? And, you know, look, with frames, my friends, it pains me when I see people, you know, pay an enormous amount for a frame. A frame is a frame is a frame is a frame. I don't care which vendor you get it from, okay? But they vary widely, okay? We've seen them sell for as little as, like, when they're on clearance or discontinuing a product for $75 all the way to what they retail for, which is, you know, $149.99. And I don't want to throw any vendors under the bus here, but the reality is that as a consumer, you got to buy the frame. If you're doing a custom build, you got to buy the frame wherever you can get it the cheapest, because it's the same frame. All right. Now, look, I'm going to say this also. If you're not in the MGB network, you're not in one of those communities, and I understand that if you don't like social media, that's fine. I have our own forum, completely free of social media rules. It's marinegunbuilder.com/forum. It's the 80% forum. There are no social media rules, so there's no excuse for you not to be part of the community. But here we post every day the best deals on frames and other parts, okay? And so you want to be careful here, because you could easily pay double what you should be paying for a frame, and you don't want to do that, okay? So sourcing the frame is number one, deciding, you know, which model you want to go to and where we can get those frames, you know, the cheapest. And here's the thing, between, you know, like right after the holidays, so right after Christmas, January 1st, pretty much until Memorial Day, a lot of these frames are really tough to get under $120. Okay, they're just tough to get under $120 in that time frame. After Memorial Day, and then, you know, kind of marching towards Independence Day, we start to see really good sales, and they drop and they drop and they drop. Okay, and then as you get to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we get into the holiday season. I mean, we're finding them all day long, all the time for $100. Now, there's a couple of websites out there that do offer them at a reduced rate year round, but you have to pay a membership fee, and, you know, that's another whole story that I'm not going to get into, okay? But the main message here is I don't want you to overpay for a frame. So make sure that you're in some portion of that network to make sure that you know where to buy your frame at the least expensive rate, okay? And then we got the slides. Again, on the marinegunbuilder.com blog, I have a list of every single slide that the Polymer 80 uses. There's over 100 slides, 100 companies with, you know, some of them offer several slides a piece. So there is an enormous wealth of information in that blog for you to go and research what kind of slide you want. Now, what's probably more important, though, is what slides you don't want, okay? Which ones that we know cause issues. And, you know, it's one of these things where I can't tell you, Freedom Protector, how many times folks will email me or comment or come into our community. They're brand new. They'll sign up and they'll put their first post in like, hey, can everybody help me with this slide? I'm having a problem. And we're all just like, man, you know, you should have came to us first. We know about that slide. We know the issues with that slide, or those parts even, okay? But for the slide, you want to do some research. You want to go over to the blog. You want to kind of pick out the things that you like aesthetically, okay? The features that you like aesthetically, the things as a shooter you think are going to benefit you the most. And again, there's just a massive amount of information out there. And then take kind of your choices to the community and say, these are what are some of the things I'm thinking. With thousands of members, and, you know, last month we did 50,000 pieces of data, okay, that have come in, you know, so comments and posts and everything else. Multiple people have that slide or those parts, and you can guarantee that, and listen to their feedback, because these are actual users using that platform or that part, okay? So the slide's a big thing. Barrel's another one, another big piece, and again, you know, we can get them as little as $45 in some cases, right? But they can cost, you know, well over $200 for, you know, a solid match grade barrel. But again, just like slides, there are barrels that you want to stay away from, Freedom Protector. No doubt about it. All right. Not just from a fitment issue, but even from a performance issue. You'll want to narrow down your choices of the barrel and then go ahead and ask some members who use and run that barrel what their opinions are. Okay. And one of the greatest things about running an educational community, because that's what this is, I don't consider them social communities, because if you've ever been in one of these forums, they're not social media type forums, okay? They're educational. You'll find that people are very willing to tell you exactly what they don't like about it and what they would have changed, and when they have regrets and when they have buyer's remorse, okay? So fantastic information. Then we need a lower parts kit and an upper parts kit, okay? And now again, this is kind of like the frame. Lower parts kit is a lower parts kit. So we're talking about OEM lower part kits here, okay? They're the same no matter which vendor you buy them from, okay? But, you know, I could see a lower parts kit for 40 bucks somewhere, and then I go to another website and it's 90. And it's like, psh. And I know people are buying the $90 ones, okay? And you don't need to. It's the same parts. So upper parts are more expensive than lower parts, and that's the same thing as well, okay? We see a lot of price gouging out there when it comes to parts kits. So make sure that you're buying it, and I've got kind of some language in here to keep you on track of, you know, kind of what the top is that you should pay, okay? All right. So then we get into sights. So sights are, you know, we're one of these things where we're so fortunate in the aftermarket world that there are tons of sights available to us, okay? And all sorts of different options for you to do. And I'm going to use optics here as well because they kind of go together. But on the marinegunbuilder.com shop, I have a list of 70 plus optics and sights for you to choose. So you can go through and browse what they are. I use Amazon links through there to link you to Amazon to make your purchase. But you want to look at what the feedback is. Again, narrow it down and then ask folks that do it, because we see a lot of times too that people buy sights and they're unhappy, and sights are something that can be very expensive, my friends. I mean, a sight, you know, a lot of sights cost more than barrels do. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're picking the right sight. With the optic, it's the same thing, okay, because almost all of the aftermarket slides are RMR cut, and I kind of explained some of that in here for some of you newbies. That could probably be its own video. But most of the slides are cut for an RMR cut, okay? And there's certain optics that fit that cut in order to run it on top of your slide. And while I'm on that, one of the other big considerations to make on the slide is, even if you don't think initially that you're going to run an optic, you'll want to buy an optic cut slide and just run a cover on it until you maybe you don't have the money up front to buy the optic, okay, because they can be pricey. But you run a cover on top of it until you do. That's going to save you money in the long run from buying a slide and then you're like, oh man, you know, I want to put an optic on it now. Well, now you're going to spend hundreds of dollars on the optic and then send your slide out to get milled and spend another couple hundred for that to happen, okay, then to get it back. I mean, it's just a waste. So if you think you're going to run an optic, or even if you run sure and you run the fence, I would tell you to get an optic cut slide, run a cover plate on it, and then wait until the moment that you're ready to pull the plug on that, okay? Magazines. So the Polymer 80 does not come with magazines, okay? I've seen people build it and not realize that, oh my God, I built this weapon and I can't shoot it because I don't have a magazine. They have to order magazines, okay? So there's really, you know, three kind of players out there. You got OEM mags, you've got Magpul mags, and you've got ETS mags, okay? And I'm going to let the community answer all of the questions for you on the aftermarket ones, the Magpuls and ETS, because there's lots of information on that. Again, that could be another whole video. But the reality is that you don't want to overpay for mags, because again, mags are consistently on sale from different vendors. We know who they are, and we all stay in touch with each other in this big web, in this big network of making sure that people are not overpaying for magazines, okay? So you know, you'll want to at least pick up a couple from the beginning, a couple of OEM magazines. As a new builder, you want to do that, okay? So magazine extensions, because listen, who doesn't love more capacity? We love capacity, right? And mag extensions give us the ability to add, you know, 1 rounds, 2 rounds, 3 rounds, so on, to our standard magazine. One of these things that can cost you an arm and a leg and not get quality, okay? And so again, you want to research some of that. I have lots of information for you to research on where to go, what to look at for your build. And then there's also, you know, customization. Some people like specific colors in their mag extension, as well as they want the functionality of it, okay? Compensators have become huge in our Polymer 80 builds. I mean, enormous in the build community. And look, I mean, it's no surprise, right? They reduce felt recoil. They do add extra length to the overall weapon platform, but they are wildly popular at this time, okay? So again, something that you want to research, because if you plan on running a compensator on your Polymer 80, well, then you need to buy a threaded barrel freedom protector, right? This is one of those things, again, where people who are brand new, they're like, not thinking about a compensator, you know, they buy a standard barrel, you know, maybe it's just Crown or whatever, but then they're like, oh, I want to put on a compensator, and they're like, oh shit, I need to buy another whole barrel. So now they're spending hundreds of dollars more to buy another barrel in order to put the compensator on, right? So again, that's like that optic and slide thing. If you think you may want to run a compensator in the future, it's best up front to buy a threaded barrel, get a thread protector, and put it on, okay? Save yourself some money. Lights. Lots of people run weapon lights. Again, very popular. There's a couple of companies out there that are well known. They are highly competitive in the pistol market for sure, which works to our advantage, okay, because when they're competitive, that often means great sales for us, all right? But again, this is one of these things where there's a lot of variety. There's only a handful of companies, but there's a lot of variety in what those companies offer with their product. And so, you know, a lot of times we get down to what are our specific needs around lighting on our weapon, okay? And matching that with the right product. Holsters. Holsters are, you know, still haven't been widely adapted by the aftermarket, specifically for Polymer 80. There are a few, and there are a few companies that will actually custom make you one, which is great. The other thing too is a lot of folks in our community, they buy standard Glock ones and then they heat it to form to fit their Polymer 80. So there's lots of information out there around holsters as well. Let's talk, all right, so that's customizing your build, right? These are all of the things that we got to think about when we're doing a custom build. In other words, we're piecing it together ourselves. The other thing there is watch my injection video, because if you're building a 9mm, there's some specific things around that, and I'll put one of those little fancy things that YouTube does, those little V cards up here for you to go watch it after, and maybe I'll even put it at the end, okay? But then we get into build kits. So build kits are cool, right? One-stop shopping. It's all done for you. Comes in one package, and you will go ahead and assemble it. And, you know, really at this time, there are really 5 companies that I see, you know, as this person who's grabbing all this information, that are consistently out there supporting the 80% community. So I'm going to talk a little bit about them and what they offer, and set you on the path. I encourage, if you go the build kit route, to research what you want, all right? Each one of these, again, thousands of people in these forums have them in our community. community, and they have a very high success rate, okay? So a lot of it really comes down to price for you. They're all competitive. Comes down to price for you and what you like that they offer, okay? So the first is we have MDX Arms. You know, MDX Arms is great. Again, the owners of these companies are involved in our community, which we appreciate so much, okay? Because it's really great to be able to talk to owners one-on-one of these companies when we're using their weapon platform that they're helping put together in these kits. But MDX Arms, fantastic company, huge supporter of 80% Firearms, of the community, and of this channel, okay? And they have been since day one, and I appreciate them. They offer very unique stuff. Basically anything you want, he's got, okay? And I do encourage you to get on his mailing list. You know, just go to his website and put your email in, and you'll get, you know, those little bursts when he's running something, and phenomenal. He's also very proactive at MDX Arms. He's thinking ahead of time about, you know, things that are coming down the pipeline and making sure that he's stocking them ahead of time. So MDX Arms, good to go. Another company, ADP Builder, fantastic company, made in the USA. They put out awesome proprietary kits. You know, it's their stuff, and it is phenomenal, and it's sexy, okay? And I would say, you know, one of the biggest things about them, they get a really hardcore following too, right? People who like ADP Builder like ADP Builder, and they, you know, they are fearful about it, and it's for good reason. They make a great platform, so you'll want to check them out. One of the other things they do that I love too is they have these boss kits where you can actually customize your kit, right? So it's not, hey, just this is the price, this is the box, and this is the components that come in it. They're like, well, this is it, but you know, you can choose your own barrel, you can upgrade, you know, your sights and things like that. So, you know, they're fantastic. So check them out as well. They'll be, all these will be on here. U.S. Patriot Armory, again, you know, another company that is consistently putting out new stuff and new products, constantly has great combinations of colors. One of the things about doing custom builds, and why people don't do a build kit, is because they're like, well, you know, I want my slide Cerakoted this color, you know, or I want this frame, but I want this color slide. And so the great thing about U.S. Patriot Armory is they know that. Right? That's their specialty. And so you're able to go there and pick, well, you know, I want a black frame with a red slide or something like that, okay? They got it. All right, they've thought about that ahead of time, and they'll actually make that to order to you and ship it out, right? So it also saves you that step from, if you think, hey, I'm going to get my slide Cerakoted, well, it saves that step, because if you get it, if you're piecing it together, and now all of a sudden you're like, you know, I want to Cerakote my slide, well, now you got to stop your build, you got to send out the slide, you got to wait a couple of weeks for them to Cerakote it and then send it back. It's just a hassle, and he's got it all up front. All right, JSD Supply, I mean, you want to talk about a great 80% company. I mean, they are fantastic, not just in the Polymer 80 world, but across the board. You know, lots of SIG lines, they got AR lines, you got everything that you need, okay? JSD Supply is a major player in this field. They feed a lot of other people too, always got competitive pricing. Again, another owner that's very prevalent out there in the social communities, answering questions for users, not just for people that are asking questions about his specific product, but he's out there actually contributing as a member of the community and helping people with their builds, whether they're his or not, right? And so that's good to go. F&F Firearms, listen, they continue to push what's possible for the budget builder. Again, lots of folks that are in the F&F world love F&F, and they love their price points, okay? They're able to give you an extreme value at a great price, okay? And wildly popular as well out there within our community, and another one who is extremely active in all of the social media networks. And again, I'll say the same thing with him, not just his product, but I've seen plenty of times where he's helping users with other products as well, right? So those are some build kits. Now look, if I didn't mention them, and I said earlier, but if I didn't mention somebody and you know, it's probably because they haven't been proven to me yet, right? Those I know. All right, so let's get into pins now, right? So let's start to get into the build. And now, here's the thing, pins. You know, I could dedicate an entire channel to pins. We could talk about pins for months, all right? It's my, as you know, you watch my videos, it's my personal favorite topic, okay? But pins are an enormous area where users run into issues, all right? And so the first thing that we've got to decide is, what tool are you going to use? Are you going to use a Dremel, or are you going to use a drill? Okay, and I'm not going to get into the debate here because that's a debate that raves, okay, and I started it because I brought the Dremel to the community, okay, but it's a debate that continues to rave, and I'm not going to get into that at this time. But what I am going to say is that what's more important than the tool, but I don't care if you use a Dremel or a drill, but using high quality bits is essential. That's essential. So if you want to use a drill, knock yourself out. You want to use a Dremel, knock yourself out. But buy quality drill bits. And again, on the blog, I have a drill guide with the quality bits in order for you to use on a Polymer 80 build, okay? And again, so the pins discussion is like this, all right? And I've got a couple of videos that are going to be coming out in the next month. Because it's just something we continually need to address and educate folks on, okay? So pick whether you're going to do. If you're going to use a Dremel or a rotary tool, and you can use a Dremel workstation, use the Dremel workstation to press, okay? If you're going to use a drill, use a drill guide. It keeps it absolutely vertical, and you'll want to use some type of drill guide. And a drill block also is very, very helpful because the jigs don't have posts on them that are long enough to hold the bit steady, okay? So bits are number one. Don't use the bits that Polymer 80 gives you, okay? Get quality bits. The brad point bits are great because they self-center within the hole, and then you can drill or Dremel, all right? Some optional things there around pins is whether you want to use a desktop vise to give some stabilization. And, you know, this is another thing of a conversation that can rage upon, you know, do we keep the jig vertical? Do we keep it, you know, horizontally flat? It's a clamshell jig. It's made for this. It's made for that. And I'm going to try to answer a lot of those questions when I do the educational videos. But a desktop vise can be very, very helpful to you when doing that step. Nylon jaws as well. A drill block, and even a T-tap. So a little T-tap help you initially just tap that hole so that brad point bit can sit in before it actually starts spinning. Hey, that's good to go as well. And those things are very, very inexpensive. Okay? Then we get to tabs. So look, you know, I'm gonna pat myself on the back a little bit, right? We never see a tab problem, ever. We used to. We used to see freedom protectors taking their little Dremel sanding wheel and right into the frame. We don't see that no more, my friends. There's never a post anymore. 50,000 posts last month in comments. Nobody, not one, was a problem with tabs. Well, why? Because we use fret cutters, man. That's why. We changed it up. We changed the process. And as soon as we changed our approach to it, the problems all disappeared. We never see it, but we've rooted it out. And so if we could do the same thing with pins, I want to be one happy, you know, crayon eating Marine for sure. Okay? That's my goal. But with the tabs, you need a fret cutter. Period. I mean, it's not even debatable. Every now and then, I will have somebody pop up in a YouTube comment and say something about, oh, you know, I cut them with this rotary tool and this wheel, and it's like, dude, you did way too much work, okay? But fret cutters, look, there's pretty much 4 standard types that we use out there. You know, pick one. There's one that's real expensive, which is the Hosco. Then we get into the Stumax, very, very popular as well. Still a little bit pricey. We've got the bitter roots that are a great value. We've got Nipex that's kind of a low end of the totem pole, but they all will work. You know, but please use a fret cutter and you will have 0 problems there, okay? To do some cleanup work, you really got 2 paths that you can take as far as, you know, after we snip it off, bang, but we want to clean it up for that first time quality look. You can go the diamond bit route, which I do in the Tabtastic video, but you know, lately what I love to use is the belt sander. Okay, I put a 600 belt on there, quick, and in seconds, I am done. First time quality tabs. And so, you know, I have to kind of update some of that video as well. I think maybe when we build the 43, I'll do that specific step in there. Let's see what we got. Okay, I got some other builds coming as well. So we'll introduce the belt sander in that method. I talked a little bit about it in the locking block video. So tabs are done, just like that. Then we get to the channel. Doing the channel, again, it's the area we've made lots of innovation. We continue to do so, you know. I mean, when I dropped the master channel video a couple months ago, you know, I mean, it was a huge innovation over the original channel video in our mindset. And even now, as I sit here and I'm talking to you, I know 4 different more ways to do that channel that I didn't know a couple of months ago when we were doing it. And that's called innovation, my friends. So, but right now for the channel, use the fret cutters to cut your walls. Very big way to just slice those walls on either side. Having an angle cutter, you know, I used the little blue one in that video, and since then now we use the fast cap angle flush cutters, which are fantastic. All right, so we can cut the walls that way, we can cut our X that way, do all that same thing. Then router bits, diamond bits, but really the secret to the channel is those green polishers. And the green polishers are fantastic to have anytime we're working with polymer in any area of the polymer. They are just a lifesaver. If we get tooling marks or sanding marks or anything like that in there, they will save you time and time again. The other thing here is an X-Acto kit. You know, sometimes, you know, your cut's not absolutely perfect and you might be in a tight spot that a big dookie tool like a fret cutter or an angle cutter can't get into. An X-Acto kit you've seen me use many times in my video. It's just always a great little set to have on hand, okay? So you want to consider getting an X-Acto kit for those tough to reach spots, all right? So first time quality stuff, you know, look, the Prepping for Perfection video, I think, did a fantastic job educating the community on just how bad these parts are coming to us. And I get a lot of feedback. It's not the most popular video I have, but it's the video I get the most appreciation on. I get daily emails and inbox messages thanking me for that, because as soon as they do some of those methods, it's like a brand new weapon to them, okay? And they can't believe it. They can't believe it. And so, you know, I have a whole thing in here about prepping for perfection and going through the checklist to make sure that you stay, you know, on target to have a first-time quality internal components within your Polymer 80, okay? Next, you know, this is a big one. Glock assembly tools. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I have seen new builders, you know, start to assemble their tools, get their frame, get ready, get building. They build a frame, and then like, shit, I can't assemble it because I don't have specialty tools that are made for Glock firearms, all right? And so you're gonna need those. It has nothing to do with building tools. They're specialty tools for Glock armoring, and they're made specifically when working and armoring within a Glock firearm, okay? And so you've got an armor tool, and again, I got some tool videos dropping. It's going to be a whole series that's going to explain these things. I'm going to quickly read through them. So you get an armor tool, things to look for in that, by the way. Just don't buy the cheapest one because it's not a good idea. But this one, okay, an armor's backplate. You need one. All right, so for me, it's like, it's not even up for discussion. Okay, if you're gonna start to gunsmith and build a weapon, and specifically a Polymer 80, you need an armorer's backplate. You need to be able to check engagement. All right, and if you run into a problem, you put that on. It's gonna show you right where the problem is. Okay, and so don't go down this road. You know, spend a little less in other areas. Don't spend a little less on the things that could really help you, okay? An armorer's backplate is essential, in my opinion, when building a firearm, a Polymer 80 Glock firearm. Okay, you'll want a bench block and punch. Again, you know, there's a couple out there. You know, go with your preference. You can even use a roll of blue tape. People use that, but punch set is important. Having a good punch set is important for Glock armoring. A channel liner tool, again, essential. One of the biggest decisions you need to make there is, do I just need an install only tool, or will I ever be in a position where I might want to remove the channel liner? Because if you're there, then you need, you know, a dual tool. You don't want to buy two separate tools for that. Okay, you want to just buy one. A front sight tool to install the front sight, easy. A rear sight pusher, again, I'm going to do a whole video on this stuff. But we also have mag tools, all right? So mag disassembly tools, they are pretty much come in two standard ways. You have the hand tool, right? The old hand tool to pop that mag base plate off, and you also have the sled tool, okay? And so, you know, they're great to have for a lot of reasons. You know, the first is, if you're going to be putting on those mag extensions that I talked about earlier, they make the process 1,000 times easier, okay, than getting a little screwdriver and trying to wedge it and take that base plate off, all right? So having a mag disassembly base plate tool is fantastic. If you ever need to clean your mags, again, bang, you're in, you're out. They're very, very, very inexpensive, and they're worth the money, all right? Recoil spring assembly tool, guide rod tool, looks like this, okay? Help you quickly disassemble your recoil spring assembly. You know, you might want to change your guide rod. You might want to change some springs, and you need a specialty tool to do that, okay? There are some hacks around that, but I'm not even going to get into that right now. You want a guide rod tool for that, all right? There's another tool out there called the operator tool. I'll talk about that at another time, okay? And then, so let's talk about some additional tools that you may need if you come across some issues, which I hate to tell you, I'm not going to say that they're issues, but you're going to come across problems, okay? Whether they're user created or they're inherently created within the parts that you have, okay? This process is going to take some sort of ability to be able to gunsmith a part, in other words, change a part, okay? And so a couple of great things to have on hand is a diamond stone, okay? We use them all the time. And I would tell you this, there's a 50-50 chance you're going to need one, okay? But mini pliers is another thing, you know, having a little good set of mini pliers. I constantly use them in my videos. Very, very, very helpful. And again, very inexpensive. You know, a tool that I almost don't think you can go without, I actually have it right here because, you know, I have 3 of them and they never leave my side when I'm gunsmithing anything, is a set of calipers. Again, they're under $20. They save you an enormous amount of headaches. You know, I can't build without them, all right? Vice block. A little level, so a 6-inch level to make sure that your level across the entire field and your alignment of your rail system is on par. A small file set is always good to have, so you can get a pro set. That's fine. You know, if you plan on doing other gunsmithing with us outside of the Polymer 80, you get the pro set. But you know, if you just want to do this little project here, fine. This mini file set is perfect. Works well. Okay. And last but not least, the number one tool that you need to have in order to build a Polymer 80, my friend, the number one tool are dummy rounds. Before you buy anything else, my friend, you should be buying dummy rounds. You should never, ever be gunsmithing and building a weapon and function testing and doing all this stuff with live rounds. That's another whole discussion though. Okay? Alright, so that's a lot of the checklist, and again, it's going to be out there, but a couple last pieces of information that I want to communicate over to you, okay? And this is specifically for the new builder. And I realize that you might be watching this video and I just laid a whole bunch of information on you. But here's what I want to tell you, Freedom Protector. We got your back, man. We got your back. I don't care if you've never held a hammer. If you want to build a weapon, it is your right and your liberty to do so, and we support you 100,000%. Okay, and so I want you to be able to have confidence. It's a big reason why I do these videos and I explain things in detail. I want you to be able to build a confidence through the network, the educational network, to go ahead and build, because I am a firm believer that the more of us there are in this community, the stronger we are as a unit. The truth is that in the attack on the gun world, there is no area of the gun world getting more attacked than the 80% area. We are the area they're coming for. Okay, we're who they're after. They are after, ghost guns, all right, untraceable firearms. That's who they're coming after. That's who they're making laws for. And it pains me every day when I have freedom protectors in our network who are in states that can no longer acquire a Polymer 80. I'm completely disgusted. And what further disgusts me, and I don't mean any disrespect, by the way, but I do have a lot of fans of the channel that are from Canada, and I appreciate you. But it kills me that we have folks that are in Canada getting Polymer 80 and 80% weapons, and people in our own states can't. And so, for me, every person that comes in to the network is a valuable member of that network. And what do I mean by that? Well, look, I don't care how new you are. Like I said earlier, I don't care if you've ever held a hammer, okay? We'll teach you, all right? We'll teach you. And we have patience. And there's nothing that you're going to run into, absolutely nothing that you're going to run into on this build that we haven't seen before, that we don't know how to fix. All right, we just do so much volume that we know this. We've got it down pat, and we want to help bring new people to this community. With that said, in the network, we have some of the most fantastic moderators of our forums who give their time and knowledge and resources for free to the community. And you have my word, my absolute word, that nobody will make fun of you, belittle you, no matter how newbie your question is, okay? And if they do, they'll get tossed immediately, all right? We are an education first network, and we're here to educate freedom protectors exercise their right of liberty, okay, and build an 80% firearm. Last couple of pieces of information, all right? The reality is that there's a lot of videos out there that have set false expectations, okay, that promise you that you can build a Polymer 80 in 10 minutes and be, at the firing range at 11 minutes. My friends, it's just a false narrative, okay? It's untrue, all right? Some people can get a Polymer 80 and build it without any hiccups, but the reality is most don't. Most don't. And so I don't want you to be under the false expectation. This takes patience. It's not hard. Okay, it's not hard, but it takes patience and it takes knowledge in order to do it effectively with first-time quality. The project time, I get asked that question, how long should it take me to build a Polymer 80? This isn't a race. This isn't a race. It's up to your acquired skill. I can tell you, for me personally, okay, between polishing and prepping and getting everything together in a first-time quality, assembled, ready-to-fire weapon takes 4 hours. Okay, and I'm telling you now, and listen, there might be somebody out there that says, oh, 4 hours, I can do it in 90 minutes, Well, listen, I guarantee you, outside of the technicians that work at Polymer 80, there is not a person on this planet who has built more Polymer 80s than me. Okay, that's proven. I can prove that. And certainly there's nobody out there that has more information on Polymer 80 than me, because I run a network of 7 data points that come in, again, with 50,000 pieces of information a month, okay? And so I know what's out there. I know what people are suffering from. I know what their challenges are, okay? And so I don't want you to have a false expectation, because it's untrue, all right? The second thing, or more importantly, what I want you to understand is that the more time you spend up front on this education and getting the resources that you need, the easier the build will be. We see that time and time again where folks are going through and they're actually updating us on every part of their build, which is great, because we can give guidance that way too. But they're giving us an update on every portion of their build, and we're walking them through that build. They'll always say, you know, I'm so glad that I got that information up front, because I did run into this issue that you were talking about, or in this video, you know, you were talking about this and I ran into the exact same thing, or I was reading this post about, you know, this person's story and I saw this exact thing on the build, and as soon as it happened, I knew how to tackle it because I already had that information up front. In with that though, I see the opposite. I see a lot of people come to our community when they have a problem. Even though they've watched my videos and I've told them to come into the community, they wait until they have the problem. They think they got it all figured out, and then they come in and they're like, hey, I ran into this problem. And we're like, we know, man. Why'd you wait? Don't wait. Come in now, right? Come in now. Let us help you up front, and spend the time getting that education up front. All right? With that said, there's also a fantastic post out there by Tad Howard, who is one of our bloggers on the blog and one of the moderators in the community. And he, I think, did an exceptional job quantifying that new builder mindset, you know, and trying to get it all captured into one really good read for anybody that's looking to do a Polymer 80. I encourage you to go over to the blog. It's called My First P80. He just goes through the entire process of even his mindset, what he was thinking, how he came and, you know, worked up the courage to build it, and then the entire process through firing, so on and so forth. And he has been a tremendous asset as far as educating others in our community, and I encourage you to go read that. But most importantly, do it, man. Get her done. Get her done. We're here for you. That's it for today. Simplify, do or die.